Commando is famous for its bloody action scenes and an Arnold who never runs out of bullets, but in real life, the actors who contributed to this legendary film did not have happy endings. Some died in unexpected accidents, some sank into addiction and despair, and some were forgotten by Hollywood until their last breath. And as we explore this tragic list, you'll never look at Commando the same way again. Let's get started. James Olsen as Major General Franklin Kirby. James Olsen was born on October 8, 1930 in Evanston, Illinois. He was 55 when he appeared in the 1985 film Commando, playing Major General Franklin Kirby. A former Army commander and old friend of John Matrix, Kirby was the first to warn of the assassination of the former unit members and helped set in motion the chain of events to rescue Matrix's daughter. Though he only appeared in a few scenes, Olsen portrayed an air of authority, integrity, and confidence that was similar to his own life. Olsen began his career on the Chicago stage after completing his military service, a difficult journey in the 1950s. He gradually gained recognition through a series of supporting roles, including in the Oscar-nominated film Peaking with Rachel, 1968. Olsen's career never really took off, however, partly because he refused to take on sensational roles and partly because he was too attached to the stage. Financial pressures led him to consider giving up acting, especially after a quiet divorce in the 1960s. Childless and never remarried, Olsen chose to live a private life, and loneliness haunted him for much of his life. In his old age, Olsen lived in seclusion in Malibu. He battled cancer in his later years, a battle he endured silently without ever revealing it to the public. He retired from acting after 1990 and declined all interview requests. James Olsen died on April 17, 2022 at the age of 91 at his beach house in California, leaving behind 3 grandsons and a repertoire of roles spanning more than 3 decades. His net worth at the time of his death was estimated at $5 million, largely from long-term television contracts supporting roles in films and earnings from Broadway. Michael Adams as Harris. Michael Adams was born on March 22, 1950, in New Mexico, United States. At the age of 35, he appeared in the action film Commando, 1985, playing Harris, an unnamed henchman in Arias' organization who appears briefly at the end of the film when John Matrix attacks the enemy base alone. Though the role was small and had no dialogue behind the intense action scenes, was a quiet man who risked his life in front of the camera, a stuntman who lived on the edge of fame and tragedy. Adams did not enter Hollywood in the usual way. Raised on a tough ranch, he competed in professional rodeos before turning to stunt work, where he became known as the Fearless. Rooftop jumps, improvised explosions, all left him with numerous injuries that no one knew about. Chronic pain and stress led to his growing dependence on painkillers, which he kept secret even from his closest colleagues. He starred in films such as No Way Out 1987 and In the Line of Fire 1993, but no one remembers his name on screen. Working day and night, often without adequate insurance, Adams earned a meager salary to continue his lonely life. It is said that he had a brief marriage but divorced soon after, because of insomnia, chronic back pain, and a bad temper caused by long-term injuries. Despite becoming president of the Stuntmen's Association and serving as a technical advisor throughout our lives, he lived quietly in a shabby rented apartment in California with a rusty truck and a stack of undisclosed medical records. On April 18, 2010, Michael Adams died suddenly at the age of 60 from a stroke in Newhall, California. His net worth was estimated at $5,000, mostly savings from more than 30 years of dangerous stunt work. Adams left this world as he lived quietly, sacrificially, and forgotten by the world until it was too late. Bill Paxton as an intercept officer. William Paxton was born on May 17, 1955 in Fort Worth, Texas. In 1985, at the age of 30, he appeared in the movie Commando as an intercept officer, an officer who oversees air operations. Although it was only a brief supporting role, Paxton's appearance added authenticity and urgency, helping to speed up the mission to rescue John Matrix. At the time, he was quietly making a name for himself in Hollywood through small but outstanding roles. When he was young, Paxton did not easily get opportunities. Rejected by film school, he worked as a parking lot attendant and a janitor before turning to set design to make ends meet. Amidst the hardships, he nurtured his dream of becoming an actor, eventually landing the role of Hudson in Aliens 1986, but fame came with its own set of pressures. Paxton was a perfectionist to the extreme and clashed with directors over his insistence that his scenes convey real emotion. He worked tirelessly, working on blockbusters such as Twister 1996, Apollo 13 1995, and Titanic 1997. Sometimes at the expense of his health and his growing distance from his family. Paxton married Louise Newberry in 1987 and had 2 children, but admitted in an interview that his obsession with success often caused him to miss important moments with his wife and children. In 2017, a seemingly simple heart attack forced him to undergo surgery to replace his aortic valve, a complications stemming from rheumatic fever he had suffered as a child. Unfortunately, after the first surgery, his condition worsened. A second emergency surgery was performed, but it was unable to save his life. William Paxton died on February 25, 2017 at the age of 61 from a stroke following surgery. He was cremated and buried at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Hollywood Hills. At the time of his death, the post-surgery legal battle had lasted for years, ending in an undisclosed settlement. At the time of his death, Paxton's net worth was estimated at $40 million, a figure well worth more than 4 decades of tireless dedication to the arts. Matt Landers is Fred Matt Landers' full name. Matthew Maurice Landers was born on October 21, 1952 in Utica, New York. At the age of 33, he appeared in the blockbuster action film Commando 1985, playing Fred, a mall security guard who briefly appears trying to stop John Matrix, but is quickly taken down. Although the role was small and had no lines, Landers left an impression on the audience with his tired face and worried expression. Matt Landers began his acting career in the summer of 1969 and was a promising young star on Broadway, performing in plays such as Grease and Working, and even being nominated for a Drama Desk Award. But Hollywood did not open its doors to him. For more than 3 decades, he was relegated to supporting roles playing cops, soldiers, security guards, and supporting characters in major films like 48 Hours 1982, Die Hard 1988, and Down Periscope 1996. For Landers, the spotlight never really touched his heart. The pressure of not being recognized tormented him and made him question his self-worth, especially when compared to his more famous co-stars in his personal life. However, he tried to build a peaceful home with his wife, actress Murphy Cross, and 2 daughters, Lily and Fiona. But life was never easy. Sparse roles and an unstable income forced him to take on multiple side jobs to cover expenses and pay for his children's education. In his final years, he was plunged into darkness after being diagnosed with cancer. He continued to accept film offers even as his health deteriorated. Matt Landers died on March 12, 2015 in Los Angeles at the age of 62. His death was barely mentioned in the media, only briefly acknowledged. He left behind an estimated net worth of $1 million, a modest sum for a life of quiet sacrifice in the harsh entertainment industry. Nick Dimitri as a guerrilla plane guard. Nick Dimitri, whose real name is Nicholas Dimitrios Sigalakis, was born on December 27, 1932 in the United States. He was 53 years old when he appeared in the 1985 film Commando. In the film, he plays a guerrilla plane guard, a mercenary guarding an aircraft who appears briefly in an early action scene where he is defeated by John Matrix without a word. Although the role is brief, it is a prime example of a career spanning over 40 years as a dedicated and unsung stuntman. Dimitri began his Hollywood career in the late 1950s after leaving the U.S. Navy, where he served as a disciplined and tenacious soldier. His chiseled face, muscular physique, and expert moves quickly made him one of the most prominent stuntmen of the golden age of American action movies. But behind that steely exterior was a body that was slowly being worn down by countless injuries: broken ribs, sprained wrists, dislocated shoulders, and even head trauma from hundreds of fight scenes, falls from heights, and being dragged through the streets. Most notably, a fight with Charles Bronson in Hard Times 1975 left him with a severe back injury. At the same time, it was reported that directors had killed him on screen 86 times in a single year. Despite over 100 film and television roles, Dimitri never received a major award, nor did he ever walk the red carpet. In the later years of his career, he appeared in hits like The Terminator, 1984, Last Action Hero, 1993, and True Lies, 1994, often playing villains who were quickly defeated or bodyguards who were taken out in a flash. As his injuries worsened, he continued to work not only for love of the craft, but also for financial reasons. Despite marrying Christina Cummings, who became his emotional support, he was unable to overcome a brief period of depression after being dropped from a major project due to his age. Nick Dimitri passed away on October 20, 2021 at the age of 88. The cause of death has never been officially announced, but many colleagues believe it was the result of decades of pain and work-related injuries. At the time of his death, his estimated net worth was only about $2 million, a modest figure given his almost total dedication and sacrifice to the action film industry. Alyssa Milano as Jenny Matrix. Alyssa Milano was born on December 19, 1972. She played Jenny Matrix in Commando 1985 at the age of 12, playing the daughter of John Matrix, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Although only a supporting role, Jenny is the emotional center of the film, the kidnapped girl who becomes the driving force behind Matrix rage to rescue her. With her innocent, fearful eyes and quiet resilience, Alyssa brings a humane touch to a world filled with guns and hatred. But behind the spotlight, Alyssa Milano faced the harsh trade-offs of being a child star. She grew up in the seductive world of Hollywood, often exploited for her image since she was a teenager. In the 1990s, Alyssa struggled to transition into adult roles without being framed by her little Jenny past. She has revealed that she endured constant harassment and even suffered from mild depression due to the fear and loss of control of a career that was going south. Her marriage was equally tumultuous. After a failed marriage to rock musician Singin' Tate, she suffered a painful miscarriage before marrying David Bugliari for the second time. They had 2 children, but Alyssa admits that her struggles with anxiety and obsessive-compulsive disorder made it difficult for her to fully enjoy motherhood. In 2017, she became one of the leading voices of the #MeToo movement after courageously revealing that she had been a victim of sexual harassment, a shocking revelation. Today, Alyssa Milano is 52 years old. She remains active as an activist, writer, podcast host, and independent film producer. Although her film career has not been as successful as it once was, she is one of the few people who dares to speak out against the corruption of the very industry that once hurt her. Her net worth is estimated at $10 million, a modest figure given her gilded childhood, but a true testament to her extraordinary resilience, innovation, and survival. Vernon Wells is Bennett. Vernon Wells was born on December 31, 1945 in Australia. He played Bennett in the 1985 film Commando when he was 39 years old. The film Bennett is a former comrade of John Matrix, now a vicious mercenary with a crazy appearance and a burning desire for revenge. Wells portrayed the character with a fierce, intense energy, making the final confrontation between Bennett and Matrix one of the most memorable action scenes of the 1980s. However, Vernon Wells' career did not continue to flourish as expected. After Commando, he was often cast as a villain and had to accept supporting roles in many B-movies. In the 1990s, Wells struggled financially as several projects flopped, forcing him to do backstage work and voiceovers to make ends meet. Although he was never involved in any major scandals, there were rumors of conflicts with colleagues due to his outspoken and aloof personality. Behind the intense roles was an actor quietly struggling with the oblivion of Hollywood. In his private life, Vernon Wells lives a quiet life and avoids the limelight. He is married to a Japanese woman and has built a quiet life away from the limelight. In contrast to his aggressive on-screen persona, he enjoys gardening, meeting fans at film conventions, and occasionally taking on small roles to feed his passion. But tragedy struck. In early 2025, a devastating fire in the Palisades. Fire destroyed his California home, sweeping away all of his career memorabilia and his life's worth. In 2025, Vernon Wells was 79 years old. He no longer acts regularly, spending time with his family and doing charity work. While he was never a top star, he is still respected by action fans for the unforgettable roles he has portrayed. His net worth is estimated at $3 million, a modest figure compared to his Hollywood counterparts, but truly a reflection of the long journey of a resilient artist who has overcome doubt, hardship, and even fire to pursue his passion for acting to the end. Bill Duke as Cook. Bill Duke was born on February 26, 1943 in Poughkeepsie, New York. In 1985, at the age of 42, he played Cook in Commando, a cold-blooded assassin working for Arias who had betrayed John Matrix in the past. With his towering stature, cold eyes, and killer demeanor, Bill Duke made Cook one of the most fearsome enemies Matrix has ever faced. The one-on-one fight between the two in the hotel room remains one of the most thrilling action scenes in the film, but behind that fierce face is a soul that has struggled with identity and prejudice. As a black actor who stands over 6'3", and Duke is often pigeonholed into tough criminal or mercenary roles, and he has admitted many times that this hurts him deeply. In the early years of his career, Duke endured subtle discrimination in Hollywood, and was repeatedly turned down for roles simply because his appearance was considered too intimidating. In his memoir, he shared that being trapped in the image that others had imposed on him felt like being bound in darkness. Undeterred, Bill Duke turned to directing and producing, making his mark with films like Deep Cover 1992 and A Rage in Harlem 1991, where he gave opportunities to black actors who had been overlooked by Hollywood. However, his private life remained relatively private. Unmarried and childless, Duke lived alone and suffered from periods of depression and isolation for years after his mother, the only person who ever believed in him, died. As of 2025, Bill Duke is 82 years old and still maintains his dignity. He has appeared in Black Lightning and Mandy in recent years. He currently lives in Los Angeles, focusing on writing books and running a charity that supports young black artists. His net worth is estimated at $3 million, which isn't a huge amount of money, but he calls it the value of freedom, not fame. Arnold Schwarzenegger as John Matrix. Arnold Schwarzenegger was born on July 30, 1947 in Austria. He was 38 years old when he played John Matrix in Commando in 1985 and was at the peak of his physical and film career. The character of John Matrix is a lone ex-special forces soldier who is willing to tear apart an entire country to rescue his daughter from kidnappers. With his rippling muscles, cold gaze, and superhuman strength, Schwarzenegger transformed the Matrix into an immortal action icon of the 1980s. But beyond the camera, Arnold was never as invincible as his character. In the 1990s, after becoming a global superstar, he entered into a seemingly ideal marriage to Maria Shriver, granddaughter of the late President John F. Kennedy. But after nearly 25 years together and 4 children, their family life came crashing down when a shocking truth was revealed. Arnold had fathered a child with the family's housekeeper, a child he had kept secret for more than a decade. The truth not only shattered his family, but also shattered the image of a man he had worked so hard to build. The pain didn't stop with a broken marriage. Arnold also struggled with aging, major heart surgeries in 1997 and 2018, and a quiet loneliness that crept in after the spotlight faded. Despite his strong presence, he admitted that there were days when he woke up feeling completely empty, as fame no longer soothed the scarred heart of an aging man. Despite returning to the big screen with Terminator Dark Fate in 2019 and TV projects like Fubar 2023, he still knows that his time is over, and accepting that fact has been his hardest battle to date. As of 2025, Arnold Schwarzenegger is 78 years old. He currently lives in California and is still actively involved in charity, environmental protection, and politics, often sharing his philosophy of life through inspirational videos. Although he retired from politics after serving as governor of California from 2003 to 2011, he remains a respected voice on climate change and healthy living. His net worth is estimated at $450 million, largely from real estate investments and personal branding projects. Rae Dawn Chong as Cindy. Rae Dawn Chong was born on February 28, 1961. She played Cindy in the 1985 film Commando when she was only 24 years old. Her character, a flight attendant, went from an accidental bystander to a key ally of John Matrix, with the memorable moment when she fired a rocket to save her friend, leaving a deep impression on the audience. In a film full of masculinity, Rae's Cindy brought a new look, intelligent, bold, and emotional. However, behind that strong image was a life full of turmoil. Born into a troubled artistic family, her father, comedian Tommy Chong, struggled with addiction. Rae grew up in a state of instability and emotional void. She has said that her Chinese grandfather, out of racial shame, refused to pass on his culture to the next generation, leaving her with a sense of identity confusion. That cultural distance, coupled with the pressure of being the child of a celebrity, left Rae constantly struggling with feelings of alienation in the entertainment world. She has gone through 3 failed marriages, including a divorce in 2014 that left her emotionally and financially devastated. Rae also faced backlash after making controversial comments about Oprah Winfrey in 2014, a situation that forced her to publicly apologize. Although she has not been involved in major scandals or self-destructive behavior like some of her peers, Rae Dawn Chong has often been seen as indecisive and unfocused in her career, which has seen her popularity decline since her peak in the 1980s. She quietly turned to independent films and rarely appeared in mainstream media. In 2025, at age 64, Rae is still active in the industry, but mostly works behind the scenes and plays small supporting roles. She spends most of her time in California raising her son Morgan and participating in independent film activities. Although her career did not take off as expected after Commando, she is still considered a pioneering black woman in Hollywood in the 1980s. Her current net worth is estimated at $4 million, a modest figure compared to her contemporaries, but a worthy achievement after a journey of courage, loss, and perseverance through the harsh fluctuations of the film industry. Dan Hedaya as Arias. Dan Hedaya was born on July 24, 1940 in New York City. He played Arias in Commando 1985, a 45-year-old former South American dictator who orchestrates the kidnapping of John Matrix's daughter to blackmail him into carrying out a political assassination. With his cold eyes and arrogant demeanor, Dan Hedaya made Arias a hateful but fascinating villain, opening the door to a series of scheming supporting roles that would become his career signature. However, being stereotyped as a villain brought constant pressure to Dan Hedaya's life. He has admitted that people often think he is a bad guy in real life, which has led to him keeping a low profile. Off-screen, his only marriage ended quietly in the 1980s, and he has never remarried or had children. In the early years of his career, he worked as a high school teacher to make ends meet before getting his chance to act professionally after studying at HB Studio, where many legendary stars got their start. While not as flashy as some of his peers, Hedaya made a lasting impression with a number of excellent supporting roles, including as a cuckolded husband in Blood Simple 1984, a loving but powerful father in Clueless 1995, and a satirical portrayal of President Nixon in Dick. He rarely got into scandal, kept to himself, and avoided partying, but has said that playing dark psychological characters required him to stay balanced through meditation and daily walks. In 2025, Dan Hedaya will be 84 years old. He lives in New York, occasionally taking small roles on television or indie stage, maintaining a low-key lifestyle and staying away from social media. With a career spanning over 4 decades, his net worth is estimated at $5 million. That's not a huge amount, but it's a testament to a life of steady artistic activity and a conscious decision to stay away from the chaos of fame.